Welcome everyone, this is Alex Burke from the Salem Museum and Historical Society. And for this week's installment of Around Town, a historic video tour of Salem, we're here standing on the estate of Fort Lewis. And this is going to be a special episode because we're going to unveil a brand new highway marker. But before we get to that, let's have some history first. To go back, we need to go all the way back into time to 1742, when a man by the name of James Campbell settled in this area. He was one of the first people to settle in this entire Roanoke Valley. And during the 7 Years' War of 1756 to 1763, the Virginia legislature approved a series of colonial forts out onto the western side of Virginia. These were designed to serve as protection for the citizens out here from Native American attacks. But while you're thinking these are forts, they're not like modern forts in the Civil War, World War I, or today. They were basically fortified houses that would just protect to have people barricaded inside of them. But in 1757, they were approached Mr. Campbell about having a fort here, and he approved. Fort Lewis was made, and it was named after Major Andrew Lewis, whose homestead was here in Salem. It was manned by Colonel William Burke III, and it actually served as his staging point for several of his expeditions into Tennessee. But after the 7 Years' War and the American Revolution, the fort wasn't really needed as much anymore, so it was disbanded. Moving a little bit closer to Salem's founding in the early 1800s, the White family moved onto the property. And in 1822, the Whites built a massive colonial mansion. Here's a picture of what it looked like. It was a truly marvel of the time, because it had several outbuildings, it had beautiful gardens, it had a 4-room brick kitchen, it had a smokehouse, a hen house, a duck house. It even had a modern bath with running water and a privy that actually flushed. One of the first one in Salem, I'm sure. But Fort Lewis was one of the finest homes in all of the community. But it also plays an important role in Hollywood history as well, because it was the childhood home of actor John Payne. Most people will recognize John Payne for his work in his starring in Miracle on 34th Street. And it was his ancestral home in the early 1900s. But it was sold a couple times after that until July 25th, 1949, when the property caught on fire, and it was eventually burned down, thus ending Fort Lewis. But there's still a few traces of the property around today, and most notably the highway markers. The first one you'll notice is a small stone one that was commissioned by the Fort Lewis chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution in 1927 to pay tribute to their namesake. The second one was commissioned by the Virginia Department of Historic Resources, and it was to pay tribute and give a description of what was here at Fort Lewis in the Colonial Mansion. And this is a picture of what it looked like. Unfortunately, due to a windstorm and the elements, the marker fell down a couple years ago, and it hasn't been put up since. It was actually on display at the Virginia Museum of Transportation, where it rests today, but that's why we're here today. But to get onto that, we'll take a couple minutes break. Now that we're at the marker, we can do the unveiling, and I would like to introduce Ricky McKinney, who is the regent of the Fort Lewis chapter of the DAR, to give a few words.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you for letting us be a part of your Around the Town series with the Salem Museum. The Fort Lewis chapter is very proud to present to the community the replacement historical highway marker. With me today is our Vice Regent of the Fort Lewis chapter, Elizabeth Vinsel. And we are so blessed today to have with us our Virginia State Regent and former Regent of the Fort Lewis chapter, Leanne Turbyfield. Leanne Turbyfield, Alex, Elizabeth, and I will unveil the new historical highway marker. But first, I think Leanne, our State Regent, would like to say a few words.
I would. I'm really honored to be here today to be part of something very special in this local community. The National Society Daughters of the American Revolution is an organization of 186,000 women currently. But since our founding in 1890, we've had over 1 million members. 1 million women aged 18 and over committed to the objectives of historic preservation, education, patriotism, and traffic. Really and truly, it is these objectives that interested in knowing more about DAR, the Daughters of the American Revolution, do check out the national website at dar.org. Just do a Google search, find us, and we will connect you with someone who can answer the questions you have about our organization. Now, let's unveil.
Thank you so much, but I want to say thank you to the Fort Lewis chapter of the DAR for helping facilitate this process and help save Salem history. Without them, it was a true team effort to get this accomplished. Without them, it wouldn't have been possible. Thank you so much for tuning in. This was Alex Burke from the Salem Museum and Historical Society. I'll see you next time around town.